Alright, today on Free Field Training, we're going to be looking at the 911 Gear 4th generation tactical duty belt suspenders. And we've looked at other 911 Gear suspenders before. You can see those in the little link right up here. These differ in the back piece that they have, but a lot of the other construction is the same. They don't mess with things that don't need messing with over at 911 Gear. We're going to start off with showing you what these suspenders look like actually on people, because from the tabletop it's very hard to tell how they're going to lay and what all of these components do. So we'll start off looking at the way the suspenders look on me. Keep in mind though that I am 5 foot 2 inches tall, 200 pounds. So unless you're also a bodybuilder whose primary source of calories is coffee, donuts, and protein powder, they're probably not going to look the same on you. So I used these suspenders for a month, and I also gave them to a buddy of mine to use for a month. Now my buddy is 5'11", 185 pounds, so he's probably closer to what most people are going to be out there, and here is some shots of what the suspenders look like on him. As you can see, the yoke on the back there operates kind of like the yoke on the back of a high-end backpack. It allows you to have that point where the suspenders meet without it creating a rub point on your back, and the attachment points that reach down to 4 points on the belt can be moved around pretty much wherever you want, as long as you keep them far enough forward where it takes most of the weight of the front of the belt off of your hips and transfer some of that weight on your shoulders. The both of us, in using these duty belt suspenders over the past couple of months, have noticed that it helps a lot with lower back pain. As we get older, we all have problems with lower back pain, especially when you're running 40, 50 pounds of stuff between a belt and a vest and clothes and boots and all of that. Now, what sets 911 Gear apart from other companies who are making duty belt suspenders is that these suspenders weren't made by a committee. They were made by a single guy who's a correctional officer in Canada, someone who's an actual end user of the product. And so he thinks of things that are important to him that aren't always important to someone who's just looking to hawk a product to people at the highest profit margin. For instance, his attachment points down to the belt. When most companies would just buy the cheapest hardware that they possibly can and not put a whole lot of thought into how these attachment point works, Gord over at 911 Gear, who designed these, bought YKK attachments that swivel like 6 ways. So it swivels around, it swivels back and forth. So no matter how you put the suspenders on, they're self-righting. Because of these little swivels, once you set this up once, you just throw the whole duty belt with suspenders on like a backpack. And these straps right themselves. If the strap is all twisted up, when you put it on and tighten it, it untwists. It's a really great feature, something that keeps us from spending 5-6 minutes every day trying to straighten out the tangle of suspenders and belt and different stuff on the belt to get it all straight when we put our uniform on. The other thing I really like is that he has taken the time to design the actual belt keeper-esque attachment points, not only with snaps, but also with snaps backed by Velcro, so that way they have more sticking force down. So they're not going to pop right off on you like a lot of other brands. I've had other brands where I've had to zip tie the snaps together so that they don't unsnap during a shift. And he's also put loop side Velcro on here and hook side Velcro on here. So if you're using the popular duty belts that have Velcro on the inside and then an inner Velcro duty belt, this loop side Velcro sticks to the sticky side Velcro on the inside of your belt, and the hook side Velcro on the back of it sticks to the loop side Velcro on the inner belt, and it keeps these from sliding around at all. So you don't have the circumstance where you attach the suspenders to your belt and they slowly migrate back as the day goes on, and your belt slowly starts sagging more as the day goes on. And as you get in and out of your car, it keeps them in place so that you don't always have the hiking up the duty belt problem that we've seen with a lot of other designs. These also keep it so that it's not difficult to take these off, because it doesn't require cutting of straps or untying of things in order to get the suspenders off, even though they're very secure on your belt and stay where they're at. Once you take the duty belt off, it's really easy to get the suspenders off the belt. And it's just as easy to put them back on again. Now, these suspenders are designed to be worn under soft body armor, and that's the way that I wear my uniform at work. I have my uniform shirt, the pants, and then my belt and the suspenders over the top, and then I put soft body armor over the top of them. And it's interesting that They've made a back yoke, which you can do a lot easier if you're not trying to wear it over a uniform. You're not as worried about how the suspenders themselves look. You're more worried about how well they function. These were designed exclusively for function. On the inside of the suspenders, where they would come into contact with your body, you have two padded shoulder straps up here that are stitched all the way around, stitched down so that way the padding stays in place, and then we have a nice mesh back piece here. This mesh back piece does two things for you. One is it makes the suspenders themselves more comfortable. Some of the weight is going to come across the very back of your shoulders, and this is going to keep the suspenders from rubbing in any way. And the other thing it does is it actually lifts your body armor, a very small amount, but it lifts the body armor a little bit off of your back. So when you sit down in your car, you get a little bit of fresh air into the back of the armor, which keeps you a little cooler, especially in the summertime. Maybe not a huge deal up in Canada, but in large areas of the US, this is a big thing. Even in the Chicagoland area where I'm at, it can get over 100 degrees in the summertime. Having to wear body armor is a pain in the butt. Having an external carrier and a system that allows some air to get through really helps. The suspenders right now are running $42 Canadian and shipping is $18 Canadian, but if you're in the United States, you have to take into account the fact that $20 Canadian is really $14 in American money, so shipping is only like $13, $14, and the suspenders are significantly less than it sounds like they are on the site. Even if it wasn't, $42 for a pair of suspenders is still pretty good when you look at the competition and the features and quality of the components that they're using in these suspenders. Lots of companies that are coming in below this price are not using six-way swivel YKK components in order to put their duty belt suspenders together. After 2 months, there is no appreciable wear to any of the components of these suspenders, including the elastic that they put back here in order to allow you to breathe a little easier. We're not seeing anything on them, and it's not like I work in a place that is really low volume. We get lots and lots of calls. It's very unusual to go more than a couple of weeks without fighting with somebody, and we haven't had any failures of any of the points on the suspenders thus far. And given the quality of the components, I highly doubt we're going to have failures on them anytime too soon. So that's the 911 Gear Tactical Duty Belt Suspenders. Highly recommend them to anybody who's looking out there for suspenders to use at work. Until next week, you guys stay safe. Take care of each other. I'd like to thank all the Patreon supporters, and especially the shift supervisor level Patreon supporters that we have listed here. Your contributions are what allows free field training to continue on and become better. Thank you.